Welcome back to episode 128 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, I-Man.
What's going on, Willis? Nice
right.
to see you again.
Yeah, man, we're
It's
back
been a
in
long
the
time. Just kidding. See each other every day.
command station.
Looking good, feeling good. But yeah, let's start off things with, I guess, Bitcoin and the macro stuff. Because as much as we want to take a break from, you know, what's the word? Despair talk.
Yeah.
You know,
It's good to know where we are in the grand scheme of things, at least as far as crypto goes.
well, and the macro situation as well, right? So,
Well, yeah, it's a separate.
that's what I mean by despair talk, because, you know.
Yeah, I mean the macro situation. There's definitely a lot of doom there, but if you look at this chart here in this rainbow kind of stripe world of Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you guys are longtime listeners, you know
Yeah.
Will is fond of charts and rainbow trajectories and all these things, but we've been looking at these models for several years now, I think, right?
Yeah.
Probably since the start of the podcast. Like, these are the things we were looking at to kind of like give us a sense of like position.
Yeah.
Like, where are we in the market? So, I mean, they do serve that value, right? It's good context of what's happened before, what could potentially come ahead of us. So because of that, we've always used to say, dude, anytime we're in that blue zone, dude,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
you're crazy not to be, you know,
open season, dude. This is buy season.
exactly.
Yeah, and then it's funny whenever this is happening in real time, like when we're seeing a $60,000 Bitcoin, man, we always have like these debates. It's like, it's clear we should be selling, but it doesn't feel emotionally clear. And
Well,
like here we're having the same debates. We're talking. It's like, yeah, this is buy time because it's in the blue section, but
Yes.
it's like it could even go lower.
Could it is the question. Like, is it
I mean, over
possible
here,
that these models, I mean, these aren't like,
no, they're not. I mean, obviously, they're not a predictive.
it's human generated, right? And
Yeah.
it's of course it could be a chance that these models can become made obsolete
Yes.
based on conditions of the market that's like unaccountable. You know what I mean?
I feel like in order for that to happen, Bitcoin would have to spend several years outside the zone, just like
not that long, dude.
taking its own like path versus
Yeah.
this rainbow path.
Yeah. Oh, but it rarely has traversed past the rainbow bands, dude. That's kind of like the point of the model. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, if it goes lower, because there's lots of reasons to believe, maybe, you know, at least in the equity sides of the conversation, there's a lot of motivating factors to inspire that negative sentiment.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing big central banks all responding simultaneously to different, currency crises across their countries. We're seeing big institutions starting to, I guess, show similar remnants to what happened in the 2008 global financial collapse. So
Yeah. Did you happen to share that link on our
did.
Discord? Let me
Yeah.
see if I can find it.
So yeah, if you guys are a fan of movies like The Big Short or
Yeah.
Margin Call, which those are some of my favorite movies, dude. Like, it's kind of like the same thing from back then. Feels like it's replaying, but even at a much greater magnitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here it is. Credit Suisse, credit default swaps, blowing up to new highs, passes the 2008 level.
Yeah. By like not even like
I mean, it's
a shy margin, dude.
this is unprecedented.
That's as like volatile as things get, I think. I've
So-
never seen something just go straight up like that.
Do you want to explain credit default swaps at least like?
I mean, to
high
my
level?
to my understanding, I think it's like an insurance type vehicle,
Okay.
just to I guess hedge against the downside risk of
Yeah.
like the events of like these mortgage-backed securities. I guess the credit portfolios within them, I guess, defaulting, collapsing, right? So I guess what this chart indicates, like whenever there's this much demand for these types of instruments, it's kind of like a market signal that,
Yeah.
again, there's a defaulting on its way.
Yeah, basically, this is saying that banks are predicting a default to happen, and so they're mitigating their losses here by purchasing
Yeah, I
this
guess-
swap.
Yeah, to me, it signals like they're realizing, again, like a lot of their financial products that, have been like stable yield generating devices for them
Yeah.
are probably going to end up being worthless in the event of these defaults and stuff like that, right? That's my, what's the word? Armchair understanding.
Quarterback, analysis.
Yeah, obviously there's much more complexity going on, like why the market's reacting this way. And of course, all the other external factors, it might not just be like, the actual components of these bonds.
Yeah.
Is like, it's just other things happening in the global economy that's spooking investors, spooking institutions, right? So
yeah,
it's time to hedge. It's time to find exit ramps, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So this is a good indicator of what's happening in the macro environment. And I guess the reason we have Bitcoin showing up here is that even though like the sky is falling outside, it's still, if you're able, you're capable, this is a good time to buy. Other than like, it's definitely not a good time to buy when everybody's talking about Bitcoin and everything's in the red, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I guess like the clearly the markets have been volatile and in a downswing across crypto and equity, stocks, all that stuff, right? Everything's down probably 40-50% on the tech side. Crypto's down 90% plus pretty much across the board.
Yep.
So it's like, dude, we've been in like, I guess like a self-aware phase for like the last year. Like so are all these things being priced in?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Yeah. And I was listening to the All In podcast with a bunch of billionaires and so, well, at least one was saying that this collapse that we're seeing or that's imminent, it's already priced in. Just because we have the internet, everybody's like relatively has access to this information. And so this collapse is already kind of priced in as far as the cryptos go.
I think we're definitely like, it's going to play out in phases because, the global economic system is obviously much more rich in liquidity.
Yeah.
So it's going to take longer for, downside events to play out. Yeah. As opposed to crypto, like, we could boom and bust within a year or two. Like you're
talking about like unemployment rates.
That's increasing. What I mean. Like that's the phase we haven't like really seen. So the market isn't like really reacting to things like that. That could be potential inevitabilities.
Yeah, it's like everyone's saying everything's bad, but I'm not feeling it all that much.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely the number one thing is that CPI index, I guess.
Yeah.
So people are feeling
like gas prices and consumer price index.
Yeah, but then also the market understands the Federal Reserve is battling that at the moment by, raising interest rates and, pretty much like architecting a forced recession in a way. Mm-hmm. So I think the market understands that component of it is like maybe that's actually like a viable strategy to get us like quickly, I don't know, like release some steam from the frothiness that exists in these markets so that whenever they do decide to inverse their actions and then, restart quantitative easing, like I guess that could be potential like priced in bullish sentiment, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict like what the market is thinking. But the point is like, man, it's hard to like separate all that and just look at this band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just buy.
And then also, look at the previous cycle. Peak at 20,000. And then this is like a year and a half of just pure despair. Right? And we started the podcast here. Yeah. And then from there, it's been all up. Really.
Yeah. So
I guess there's still some time for I guess accumulation, right, in this phase here.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like we're not saying like you have to buy now or you're gonna miss out on like we're not saying that, right? Yeah. It's just only thing I am internally struggling to debate with is like I guess how, again, because it's a confirmed recession scenario, right? We just don't know the depths of it and how long it's going to take to play out. That's it. And we don't know how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going to play in that environment. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. And if you've been listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, you would know where I stand on this. If I would follow the bands here. This is just like an obvious, like a clean representation of what I'm talking about, but I mean, if you look at the stock to flow ratio, like this is way out of bounds, right? But I'm still a proponent of like this concept, this exponential curve here, or yeah. I mean, this is where I would place my bets. I mean,
yeah,
Bitcoin's not going to go away, right? So
it's not. And then I guess all the other innovations of the space are not either. You know, NFTs. There's a big conference going on right now called what's it called? It's hosted by Masari, great research institution. I think it's called Mainnet 2022.
Masari, Mainnet.
Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of those, and clearly the space isn't slowing down one bit. Like as far as development, you know, thinking about what to do next, what's coming up next. You know, this is the kind of things you're going to see during a bear cycle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it is mainnet September 21st to the 23rd. Yeah, so you were watching a bunch of videos.
Oh, I guess like it's an older conference then. Well, a couple weeks old.
Well, it's a couple weeks.
Yeah. But anyways, the main takeaway I've been seeing from this is the layer one discussion. Like Aptos is what I've been seeing.
Yeah, so there's a tweet by Polkastarter, and there's two anticipated layer ones at the moment, Aptos and Sui blockchains. Both aim at solving Solana's frequent downtimes and Ethereum's constraints. So we'll share this tweet in the description down below. Definitely read it. But there's an article here that goes into more detail. Okay, so that's Sui. And here's the article. So yeah, tell us. So what is Aptos? It's a layer one solution backed by Facebook, right?
Well, that's what it ended up looking like. At first glance, it just seemed like another
layer one blockchain,
right? We've been seeing layer ones emerge since the start of the last cycle, right? And we were questioning like what's happening. Even way back then, right? We saw Algorand, we saw Cosmos, we saw Avalanche, we saw, of course, Polkadot, which was spent like 3 or 4 years building up to the point where it like launched in I think 2020 or something like that, maybe 2021. And it just kept on going and going and going. More layer ones, right? It's like, what the hell's going on? We couldn't even keep up whenever we were recording daily content back then, and we couldn't we threw out the theory, right? Like, because we saw what happened to Binance. They pretty much replicated all of Ethereum's primitives for DeFi, deployed it on their chain. It created manias that were like within these siloed blockchain ecosystems itself. So part of the thesis, I guess, at the time was, dude, all you have to do is pay attention to these emerging new blockchain ecosystems, watch them deploy these new DeFi primitives that are pretty much carbon copies of each other on a new chain, rebranded, et cetera, right? So that was the fuel of the last mania, right? So it's still happening. Yeah.
So, but Aptos really is like the phoenix rising from like the dust of Libra, right?
Yeah, well, that's like I guess the special caveat of this project in particular.
Yeah. So the CEO and the CTO of, I guess, Aptos came from Libra, which was at the time renamed to Diem, and they were going to build a crypto wallet called Calibra, which was at the time renamed to Novi, and both of those projects ended up being stopped by Facebook because of regulatory pressures.
Yeah, but what is that Facebook wanted to do at that time, like with Libra? Like they just wanted to...
What they wanted to do is they wanted to pin a Libra to the dollar, but not just the dollar. There was a whole basket of currencies.
Just to make it more stable, right? Or an attempt at stability. We just interviewed a stablecoin founder.
Yeah.
Publius. You know, there's Publius. Shout out to the beans.
Yeah.
The bean community. You know, there's different models as far as like what can provide, I guess, some sort of hard money solution, right? Whether it's backed by existing hard money as, you know, collateral systems, or there's these non-collateral systems that are more algorithmic. So it's interesting, but yeah, I guess Facebook wanted to just come up with their own network of who can and cannot like print more of these Libras and just leverage the existing, like, I guess, assets.
The ease of cryptocurrency and the fact that You don't have to depend on banks to do, you know,
Well, that was their
remittance.
Yeah, that was their marketed narrative, right? Why
Right.
they wanted to do that? Because we want to bank the unbanked,
Right.
Right. We want to facilitate that, allow people who have,
And Congress didn't take that.
yeah, they weren't buying that, dude.
Yeah.
In the same sense, like at some point, I don't think they're gonna buy, Bitcoin's narrative and crypto in general, just because they immediately saw like the disruptive, I think, potential of Libra, but
Yeah, but
maybe they see it
but
too.
Congress had some finger to put on
Exactly.
with Facebook. With Bitcoin, you can't, right?
That's the thing. It's just all they did. They literally just brought him in and put him on the hot seat and like, listen, lad. It's like
I think they did it like at least twice.
yeah, I think so. And that's whenever they pretty much kind of exposed themselves to their own how far back behind they are as far as their understanding of technology and stuff like that.
Yeah, the conversation was about Libra, but they were asking how Facebook makes money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They didn't even understand what's going on in the tech sector. You know what I mean? So how are they supposed to come into an agreement as far as regulating cryptocurrency, stable assets, stuff like that? So I think the solution was just to prevent it from happening. No thanks, not happening on our watch. But this Aptos organization is basically just the disbandment of those people working on that project, and now they're building blockchains.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah,
Not just any blockchain, like mega ones funded by everybody, it looks like.
Yeah, everybody in Silicon Valley, namely.
Mm-hmm.
And so in addition to this blockchain, they've also created a new language called Move. And so this language apparently is supposed to make it scalable, secure, easy to use, all that stuff for the developers. So we don't need to get into the details of the Move language, but nonetheless, it's new. And it's supposed to be making things easier, more approachable by developers.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen this a million times. Like a lot of what they're touting as far as like the innovations they're bringing into the scene to enable more scalable transaction layers is stuff we've already heard before. Parallel execution, all that stuff. We've been hearing about this since like the early days of EOS.
Like 2017 era.
The whole blockchain 3.0 era, right? Like there's, the language of Move probably does enable some friction reduction environments for developers and stuff like that. That's always important, but I don't necessarily, as we've already identified, it's not always like the best tech that wins in this space. Like, should we even be looking at this as like somebody has to win in this whole layer one thing?
Yeah, we were having a discussion offline about Ethereum and the difficulties in having a network like Ethereum kind of support games, NFT projects. Like, it just becomes too expensive.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about, let's say, for example, the Metaverse becoming a multi-trillion-dollar industry, it seems like it doesn't make sense for it to be running on Ethereum.
No.
And so if not, is it going to be running on a side chain for Ethereum? Is it going to be on a different layer one?
Well, that's the debate. That's the argument, right? Like who's going to win the consumer race?
Right.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. Like, all that matters is how are we going to figure out the the experience, the UX for the mainstream user.
Yeah,
right?
because for when it comes to like important DeFi applications, it seems like Ethereum will win, is winning, and has won.
Well, for now, but the idea of expecting users to have to pay fees or go through even a little bit of friction just to execute some sort of like financial activity function, whatever. Like that's more of a consumer demographic that would expect such thing, as long as it ensures more security.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like being a game participant or something like that, or like it want to just flip NFTs on like a market that's like frictionless.
Yeah.
That consumer demographic expects no friction at all.
No fees.
None of that.
Yeah.
No like fucking signed 6 different wallets and stuff just to like get one thing pushed through, all these different options and shit.
Yeah. Like bridges.
Yeah.
Going to second layer or like all this. Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
just too much. So these are things, of course, the industry is like, it has been, kind of like, it's weird, like cage match. You know what I mean? Like WWE style with like 20 different dudes in the ring. Or
Sure.
one dude's got a chair.
Yeah.
Other one's got like a blowtorch or something. Somebody's got like these like chains. Like
Yeah.
it's a battle between all these different like vehicles.
Street
right?
Fighter, dude.
Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I wonder.
I'm more of a WWF guy, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about blowtorches and chains.
You don't remember those days, dude?
Yeah, those are.
Those ladder matches?
Did they have chains? I don't think they had chains, dude.
Oh, dude, they had everything, dude. But they're props. It's not real. You know?
You're concerned about the chains and not the blowtorches?
Exactly.
The blowtorches is what got me, dude.
That might have been like a little exaggerated, but you know, imagine somebody coming in with like a Tesla torch, just like just like light their dude on fire. Maybe back in like the Roman days, that's how they did it.
For sure. But you know what I was thinking about is our interview with Andreas Antonopoulos. This happened in early 2020, right before COVID. And he was talking about how there's going to be a network of chains, a one network, multi-chain ecosystem.
He said those exact words, yeah.
And it's still not here. It's been 2 years,
But it's here. It's here in the sense like
They're
he
trying.
was right. He was right with the many chains theory.
Yeah, one chain,
Many
one
chain.
network, many chains.
I mean, dude, we have an abundance of chains now, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Right.
but we had an abundance of chains in 2022. But the whole idea was that there will be one network, and there's a lot of projects trying. Polkadot, Cosmos. I don't think we're that much closer to that reality, though. And so I don't know how applicable Aptos, the chain, will be when there's a single network, multi-chain opportunity. Because that single network would theoretically come up with an abstraction layer to all those chains. And the developers need to just build using that abstraction layer and access all the functionalities of the multi-chain ecosystem. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know how valuable Aptos can be in a single network environment.
Well, if that abstraction layer ever does like come to be and standardized and utilized by dApp developers, whatever the fuck, like, what are these like individual characteristics of all these different chains? Like, when do they like factor in?
Yeah, when do they factor in? Yeah.
Because like, is it like I don't know, like up to the individual user? It's like, I like this app, this marketplace, but I want all my transactions to be validated by. See, that you can't even. There's no way.
Yeah,
it can't be that.
So. I don't think
Absolutely not. You can't ever put that burden on the consumers.
See, that's like, and then
so then who is facilitating like which chain? If it's a network of many chains,
I think it comes down to, in that use case, the developer decides I want my NFTs to be on Aptos, and so
why not just like a random assignment? Like if there's so many different chains, like why does it matter? Like just randomly pick one, as if it's like a block that's like it randomly gets rewarded in a network of like the blockchains itself just becomes like individual validator nodes within the overall blockchain network.
I feel like there's too many things going against that whole concept. Just because then everybody's like kind of working together, just like doing work kind of arbitrarily versus, this chain has a specific use case, which is video games. And this one's like the metaverse.
Well, that's what we're seeing. Like that's where like the ethos, I think, of the layer one space is headed. It's like we've seen lots of examples of people who spin up projects like Injective Protocol. They built like a nice DeFi app, DeFi service, and I think now they're about to launch their own blockchain themselves that's more like specifically tailored for the types of apps and services they want to exist, right? And we've seen games do this, like Axie Infinity. They built their own blockchain too. It's like it's becoming common practice now. It's just like if you want to do something specific, like as an enterprise or in some kind of like business, blockchain Web3 business, just spin up your own chain. Like. Which is going to make things, I think, even more complicated, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if I want to play Axie Infinity, I have to get a new wallet. I have to fund that wallet with the network's tokens. And like, I want to play another game, I got to get a new wallet.
I know.
Like that. I don't think this is scalable.
It's not.
But then if you think about it, those blockchains are like apps on our phones. We have multiple apps on our phones, and we have to click each one and log into each one.
I see.
So maybe it's not that,
unfathomable.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, but maybe there's gonna be like a consolidation period at some point in the future where like all these chains get swallowed up into, hopefully at some point in the future just becomes like, choosing between 5
Yeah.
at most. Kind of like how like our day-to-day life is. Like whenever you want a mobile provider,
Yeah.
you have about a handful of choices to go with, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like smaller purveyors that have, better deals, but their fucking network is ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to deal with that, but nonetheless.
Cheaper though.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I could see some, but at the pace of what it looks like now, we're going in antithesis of that. Like we're just spreading out even more and more and more, creating more
Making
and more
it more
silos.
complicated.
Yeah, but like you're saying, it's going to be unsustainable at some point. Like a lot of these things will probably
maybe
end.
They have to fail.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be like a fail period. Damn, dude. So maybe this is but how would they fail? Just nobody transacts
no
on
users.
them.
Yeah. Like the
ones-
miners go away. They're like, nobody's using this, so why am I supporting it?
So then the ones that cannot fail, I guess, are the function or non-specific ones,
Non-specific,
right?
yeah, like
general
Ethereum.
purpose, like an Ethereum,
Yeah.
a Polkadot,
Yeah.
a Cosmos, right? Something that has built-in like architects and architecture designer to facilitate.
More than just a single use case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still remain interconnected within that same ecosystem, right? Like these models make sense to me. They're just not widely adopted yet, I guess. So
Right.
I don't know.
So with Aptos, the reason why we're talking about them is because not only is everyone invested into them, but they just recently raised almost
a ton,
400 million,
roughly, give or take.
And basically, it was just a deck. That's all they needed: a team and a deck.
Well, as far as we know, we don't know. I'm assuming
they're definitely using elements of Libra and like what they built.
Yeah, like it's built technology.
Yeah, there's something built.
Yeah, exactly.
But what their new blockchain here is, it's something bigger than that.
Yeah, but like it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of like another Solana in the making, where it was tough to distinguish what made Solana superior, I guess, to the other L1 monoliths.
Well, it's another Silicon Valley backed.
That's my point.
Network, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of these things need push. Like I said, there were early attempts like EOS and other blockchains that were, solving these same issues.
Right.
But they didn't get the same. They didn't succeed, essentially.
Well,
right?
who's to say this will succeed either, right?
Well, that's what we're debating.
Well,
will it succeed just based on the fact that we know they're connected to, Facebook, Silicon Valley, as deeply as you can?
We're talking about these guys raising $400 million, but EOS raised $4 billion.
It's true, but they raised it from like a community of like degenerates, degenerate crypto people.
Nonetheless, $4 billion, you feel like you could come up with something that people are using.
It's a great point, dude. Well, that's the thing.
Something.
They took the because I was there during that whole thing. They took the the analogy you like to paint. Like they basically laid out the parts of a plane and then I don't know, like let the community try and assemble it and like let it fly.
Yeah.
And it never happened. Like they just didn't put it together. Because
well, the community are not engineers. They're not like economists. They're not network guys.
But communities can be powerful. They actually are engineers and economists and network guys.
Maybe they weren't properly incentivized to like work on it.
Yeah, that's the point. Like you have to get people like wanting to build the plane, right? Like Ethereum did that real well, I guess. The community like galvanizes themselves somehow, or just I don't know, the provenance, I guess, of just being part of that ecosystem, like incentivizes people. I don't know, but EOS should have done something better, and I'm assuming these Aptos guy will do that. Like they'll launch their mainnet, they're gonna properly fund their ecosystem with like all this money, all this grant money. They're gonna deploy all these like Silicon Valley engineers, bring them into this ecosystem. Like, hey, build stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they have the network. They have the biggest network in terms of a human network.
Yeah.
In the world.
But maybe it doesn't work. Maybe the power of like global communities is more than what Silicon Valley can muster up.
Maybe this is the test of that.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I'm curious to know what everybody else thinks. Like the real Web3 heads, like basically the ETH devs.
Yeah.
Like what would you like? What's your gut reaction to this, dude? Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're a developer and you need a blockchain, depending on what you're trying to build, like you're going to start with Ethereum. And if Ethereum doesn't work because you're making a game, then
there's tons of layer 2 options, but
yeah.
And there's some like Immutable X who I guess they've created their own abstraction layer concept too, like the I guess the more promising tech aspects to ZK and roll-ups type.
Well, Polygon is doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're working on it too.
They're combining all these technologies.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a future for layer 2 on Ethereum where it's going to be like a minimally friction environment for the consumer.
Man, if I were to make a prediction of the future, I feel like all these use cases would happen on a side chain to Ethereum.
Which ones?
Because any use case, anything that's not like financially related, it's going to happen on a side chain to Ethereum, and Ethereum will happen all the financial transactions.
I mean, we've always seen like all the innovation has always come from Ethereum up until now.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's going to be the case always, but especially with stuff like this, I don't know, like environments that are much more like, feels like a curated blockchain type ecosystem where they're bringing in experienced devs from like well-known entities, Google, Facebook, all that stuff.
Part of Aptos design is having 1,000 validators, right?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Are they handpicked or are they selected by the community, or how?
That I could not find details on.
Okay, yeah, because they probably haven't figured it out.
And it said something about phase 3 or stage 3 of. So who knows? They might launch their mainnet with less than that. Kind of like EOS.
Yeah.
They launched their mainnet with 21.
Well, I think max was 21.
Yeah.
So
they had to be elected in through the governance protocols and stuff like that. I don't think EOS actually appointed those 21.
I see. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
now they have to do 1,000
at some point.
Well,
they said stage 3.
It feels like arbitrary. Why 1,000? Why not 10,000? Like, why?
Well, why not? Yeah. I mean, I guess the goal is to get to 1,000 and then maybe from there continue to expand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, obviously, because this is what makes them more advantageous and like more scalable, right? Because they're able to start at such a more centralized state.
See, and that's why I agreed with the EOS premise. I think 21 made sense. It was sufficiently kind of like decentralized in a way, but it was fast. It was transactions.
Yeah, and I guess the point was it was supposed to be up to the community to ensure there was enough of a distribution, even among 21. I think it maybe should have been a little more than 100 or so, because obviously it got colluded real quickly. Like that was the majority were like in a singular part of the planet, like China, I think.
Yeah.
Right, and that's gonna happen. It tends to happen in a lot of cases. Right now, almost 50% of the validator network is in the United States for Ethereum. Right, that's why
right. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
Who said that? Was it the SEC or C?
Yeah.
Somebody in big gov.
CFTC. I think it was the SEC.
Yeah, one of them is using that like to their advantage now. It's like, dude.
Yeah, I was in a lawsuit for Ian Bellina, and like it was just a line in there, just out of a million lines. It was like, oh, by the way, Ethereum's validators are all in the United States, or over 50 is in the United States.
Basically, they have the majority position in the ecosystem, so therefore
we have jurisdiction.
Yeah. So I mean. It happens, even like in almost every ecosystem we've seen so far. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like as far as the Aptos, the layer 1 race, what's going on? It's not that much separating them.
No, there isn't.
So what is it?
I mean, a lot of what we described here is a lot like EOS.
I know, and like everything that has come since then is a lot like EOS.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of Ethereum going to proof of stake was because Dan Larimer was right.
He was one of the first ones who was arguing with Satoshi that proof of work isn't the way, dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you know what? It is the way for Bitcoin. Everything else may not make sense.
But back in those days, that wasn't the the value
Consensus.
proposition of like the whole Bitcoin like initiative.
Yeah.
It was to be like a peer-to-peer cash settlement layer, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
true. I mean,
so
I
based on that
understand.
context of that conversation, like, yeah, Larimer was right, Satoshi was wrong.
Yeah.
But in today's context, yeah, proof of work, whatever, dude. Let's fucking nuke the planet
For Bitcoin?
for digital gold. I'm so down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as it adds to the value,
Well, the good thing,
perception of Bitcoin.
the good thing is that Bitcoin can be powered by the sun,
I know,
and so
I know.
this problem is moot.
It is,
This
and I
argument
think
is moot.
now like governments are like, I think enforcing that.
Yeah.
From what I've been seeing, like it's like you better figure out a globally sustainable solution, or else we're not going to allow mining type shit.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a fair.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
it's fine.
dude, money powered by the sun. I mean,
Well,
you couldn't-
any other like a wind, right? There's
or
lots of
renewable
others.
sources,
Yeah,
really,
anything.
is what I mean. But you couldn't define like you couldn't make a better story than that. Like money powered by
The sun.
the sun.
Mm,
Come on.
what about money powered by laughter? No, that's a good currency, dude.
That's,
Like incentivize people to be like joyful.
Isn't that Monsters Inc. premise?
I don't have no idea, dude.
Have
I
you
don't-
seen that movie?
No,
Come on, dude.
I don't see movies. Will I don't know why.
Oh, I mean, I mentioned these movies because they're like,
Monsters Inc. Isn't it like a cartoon?
yeah, it's an
Pixar
animated Pixar movie. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. No,
Well, anyway,
it's a money built on happiness.
well, in this case, they gain energy by scaring kids. Like the little monsters would scare kids, and it would fill
Okay.
up batteries.
Oh,
Well, at the end of the movie, and if you make the kids laugh, it fills up the battery a lot faster, bigger, better. all that.
Interesting. So they became like happy monsters and
right,
like tickling kids at
Yeah.
night and shit. We're fucking pedo monsters, essentially. It's fucking horrible, dude. Why would Disney push that narrative, dude? That's not good at all.
Thank you,
damn
Steve
it.
Jobs, for that.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I think he was involved in that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's an old one. I remember the name of it. I just never watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but so. Anyways,
Yeah.
Bitcoin. I mean, yeah,
Powered by laughter, Bitcoin.
yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, dude.
No, I know, dude. It's just I don't know. Like this whole layer one stuff, man. It's getting
You
kind of
know,
kind of redunculous.
talk about your sort of like strategy back in 2017. When you looked at currencies, you weren't interested in them.
No, because it was hard for me to figure out, like, what's the difference between, I don't know,
Yeah. A
a
Litecoin.
Digibyte, a Vertcoin, Litecoin,
Yeah.
a whatever coin, right? Is
Yeah.
the only thing I could see is like just whichever one is getting pumped the hardest.
Yeah.
That was it, right? And then that's kind of like how it ended up playing out. It's like Doge and Shiba. Like as long as you have some kind of army behind you,
Yeah.
nobody cares about the technicals or the fundamentals
Sure.
of a cryptocurrency, right? It's just you just need that aligned consensus of value. That's
Mhm.
it. So I was like, I didn't want to invest in any of those because I couldn't like predict. That's so unpredictable. It's so difficult to determine like where value lies.
Yeah.
But then within the same market were these like blockchain platform ecosystems emerging. The Neos, of the
Ethereum
time.
competitors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Ethereum already kind of like took off. Everybody understood like, smart contracts, blockchains, all these things were the future.
Yeah.
Right? If we're ever going to build some type of like decentralized internet ecosystem, then, that's the foundational layer.
You know what? You just gave me a good point. So first, you got to finish watching Silicon Valley, right? Decentralized internet.
I do.
Second is the blockchain that wins, the Ethereum competitors, could be Ethereum. The wins is the applications that gain all the people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's going to be apps. It's not the infrastructure, it's not the network, it's not the speed, it's not the cost. It is what app is going to be the Netscape or the AOL of blockchain.
Uh-huh.
So maybe
But you need a blockchain to support an app of that scale, right? Like how big did Netscape get? Like how many users, how many
well,
interactions were going on?
well,
on
it
Netscape?
was the biggest app at the time
Yeah.
when it got as big as it did.
So would you think Netscape was bigger than any like a Web3
Yeah.
app that's ever been invented? Like open?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other than like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Netscape would be bigger. Like
So,
in the,
so do you think
in the
any of
context.
these? Yeah. So Interesting. So some developer has to invent something of that usefulness.
Yeah, where people are just using the app. They went through the hassles of like blockchain and crypto wallets and all that stuff, but because they need that app, because they want access to something to do something.
Yeah.
It's like Bitcoin's use case is that you can send money anywhere, anytime, with anyone. Like no one can stop you.
Yeah.
So that's a valid use case, right? That's a valid proposal to the humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what other app besides that is as equally as powerful that's running on smart contracts?
Mm.
And so I don't know what that is. It could be a decentralized internet. I mean, that could be that. That's the thing, where we can have like communication where we can't get shut down by internet service providers. You can get shut down by the government, even though the government can still sanction and therefore, take down an entire smart contract like Tornado Cash.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it goes back to the value proposition of apps is what makes $1 trillion ecosystems, $1 trillion volume projects.
Yeah, but I guess what all these L1 founders and communities are saying is like,
it's going to be our chain.
it's going to be ours that's going to enable an app of that scale to even exist in the first place. Because,
and maybe apps like that to that scale don't exist because there's not enough infrastructure to support something like that. But we can't even think of an app that we need.
Yeah, like a
decentralized internet would be the biggest one.
Well, maybe not us, but maybe I could see an event where, like, again, I tend to always lean away from like our own Western biases because, and I tend to lean more towards, non-developed sectors of the population, right? Like people who don't have access to credible banks.
Okay.
That sounds like a killer app feature that I would want to tap into.
You got
right?
Bitcoin. So what's next?
Like a lending protocol, right? Like
you got Ethereum. Okay. What's next?
Ethereum.
Yeah.
Well, you mean like Aave and stuff? Yeah, lending protocol, like where you can actually borrow.
Oh, like non-collateralized loans.
Or just borrow or, lend money to other people generating DeFi, essentially. DeFi seems like the most obvious.
Ethereum. Okay. What's after that?
But can Ethereum can't host like billions of people leveraging DeFi is what I'm saying.
Well, because the transactions would be too costly.
But that's an example of a necessity, right? Everybody who's logged into the internet checks into their bank accounts like regularly, and they're
well, you can check right now. You're not hitting blockchain. You're not clogging the network by checking your wallet balance, right?
But you are by
transacting,
depositing and withdrawing and sending and
but
doing all these services that banks offer. You
don't agree that the entire DeFi space, no matter how expensive it is, it should be on Ethereum because Ethereum will eventually make it less expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
so maybe what you're saying, the killer app is money, and scalable money, right? Ethereum, where cheap transactions, it can hold billions of people, like sustain billions of people. I think you're right. Maybe as simple as money, like that's the killer app.
Yeah, money and money servicing
and servicing.
Sure. Like that's
I should say servicing.
Yeah, that's like the beginnings to like anything else. Like and again, it's I don't think there needs to be a winner. In other words, like I don't think there has to be a winner.
But I mean, do you agree with the argument that there needs to be a killer app?
Oh,
and that app is just the servicing of money.
Well, there's lots of killer apps now. There's also NFTs. That's a killer app.
Yeah, but okay, so you're saying, that could onboard billions of people, so that would be
absolutely
a killer app.
Equally, or if not more aggressively than money servicing would. Because now we're talking about tapping into culture and tapping into basically everything.
Yeah, but you're also with DeFi.
That's why Aptos, like part of their testnet, like marketing, like look how badass we are. They just I think gave out like 1 million NFTs in like a flash or something like that, and now they're using that as a narrative. It's like, look, if you're fucking Rihanna, you want to just give out 1 million NFTs for free to your homies, your fan base. You could do that easy on Aptos. If you did that on Ethereum, the whole network's going to crash because everyone's going like gas wars and stuff over these things. You know what I mean?
And then prohibitively expensive to do an airdrop
then exactly. Then it doesn't become sustainable. So that's what's happening. They're trying to really just hone in on the consumer experience for this stuff,
Right, but there's also
No, I'm not. Yeah,
If you go across a pond, there's 2 billion people who are not even consumers in the space.
no,
Right, so that's where DeFi comes in. You can add
Yeah.
2 billion new participants in the ecosystem. with
DeFi, the Metaverse, and just NFT, like everything, dude. Everything in Web3 is useful, can be useful and applicable, and like
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think developers would ever develop non-useful things. Like,
Okay, so hold on. Let's kind of walk through this scenario. So, let's say DeFi is successful. Ethereum cleans up their ability to unclog the network, right? Let's assume that's there.
yeah,
Ethereum onboards 2 billion new people, unbanked. All of a sudden, there's 5 billion people, 6-7 billion on Ethereum because they're using the financial servicing of Ethereum. Where do you think developers are going to develop now?
on Ethereum, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So you're just advocating for just liquidity, wherever liquidity lies,
Right.
that's where developers go. But
will it matter that there's these other layer 1 blockchains at that point?
well, I don't think you can actually achieve that kind of user base on a singular blockchain.
Well, we have billions of people on the internet, right? So
Well, I
we could
yeah,
do
I
it.
know, but there's more. I think back end.
Constraints.
Huh?
Constraints.
Yeah, in blockchain. Yeah.
I agree. But Ethereum's working on that, right?
Oh, I know.
They're not like just like chilling.
But they have all these other layer 1 like competitors that don't have to work on those things. Like they have it built in.
I know, but
So
follow this train of thought.
Yes,
If the money servicing
DeFi.
is DeFi, innovation happening on Ethereum, like it's the settlement layer of money
Okay.
servicing.
Yeah.
Therefore, you could predict billions of people on Ethereum as a result of that app.
So long as like none of the other DeFi ecosystems and all the neighboring
Yeah.
blockchains don't pan out for whatever reason, like just people don't see value in it or what? Like why
Well,
would people only want to use
Because right now,
Ethereum DeFi?
Ethereum has the network effect, has the developers, has
yeah, but
has the
but
innovation.
We've already seen you could easily just take that and deploy it on any other chain, which is what's happening. Like
Yeah,
every
but-
other blockchain
well,
has the exact same primitives.
when you introduce blockchain and crypto to people, what are the networks that you talk about?
well, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring them to Ethereum for sure. That's me.
Well, it's Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Those are the
I know,
those
but
are the
like,
intros
if
to
I were
blockchain.
to advocate to somebody like to hey, there's this like NFT PFP mania going on, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna onboard them to the Ethereum ecosystem, not like Solana,
Yeah.
not for one just because it's familiar to me, I trust it, all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? Even though it's like cumbersome and like my friends come into the ecosystem like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What do you mean I gotta pay $20 to like you just transfer something over? Like this is absurd. It's like, dude, just it's the way it is. Just don't get mad.
Yeah.
Right? And then like, okay, whatever, I guess. But as long as they have that opportunity to make a profit or make some
So-
yield for themselves in the ecosystem, it's worth it. But
So the challenge here is, can Ethereum relieve some of those pressures, those constraints before someone else gets traction? That's the challenge.
yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's a huge because the general population, the masses, humanity, they're not concerned about things like that they should be concerned about, to be honest. Like how long-standing Ethereum has proven itself, like almost a decade of pretty much foolproof performance, as opposed to like a brand new layer 1 that hasn't proven itself at all. But from a consumer's perspective, as long as I'm able to like engage in these activities, perform these functions, extract this value for myself because there is liquidity present in it, because
Yeah.
there's like a whole ecosystem there.
Yeah.
That's all I care about at the end of the day. So like that's where Aptos and all these other new layer 1s, they have that advantage and they understand that. They know that.
So you can see a scenario where you're introducing blockchain to someone and you would say Aptos is where you should start. You can
No.
see that.
I don't ever see a scenario like in the future where I'm telling people to use Web3 products and like I'm in the same breath describing the blockchain that is used to facilitate that service. It's going to be like you said, it's going to be more like
Okay,
there's
so-
this app.
Okay.
There's this thing.
Send me money.
Yeah.
Send me money, but just download the Aptos app.
Yeah, let's imagine it's a decentralized Coinbase that it's in everybody's phone which likely would be something Aptos related because they're tapped into Silicon Valley's framework of like application distribution, right? Like
Okay.
more than likely you're going to get some sort of
Okay. Yeah.
DEX in the future. It's going to be widely used by at least people in America.
Yeah, because they're connected to Coinbase, and Coinbase connected to
Facebook,
everybody.
they're connected to the whole mainframe that is Silicon Valley, right? They're going to get their decentralized products to the masses better than an Ethereum foundation would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because, so they're probably,
Okay.
that's it.
So
when
Ethereum should be worried here.
yes. But not like it's not over or anything like that. It's just, there's other pockets. The world's a big place. It's huge. It's massive, right? So like if Aptos or whatever other organization ecosystem somehow builds their own network effect through like,
Apps.
pre-existing support from, institutional Silicon Valley backing, whatever the fuck. Like, at the end of the day, the consumer apps, that's what's going to attract the people, not the blockchain itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Ethereum has
So people would have to trust Aptos for their financial security then. Kind of like we inherently trust Ethereum, right?
But that's not the consumer, dude. The consumer doesn't think about that.
When you're banking in your bank account,
Okay,
you're not concerned about security.
Only thing I think of is the reputation of the bank itself. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not actually thinking of security though. The word security is not in my mind. I'm just
because
it's a big bank.
Reputation for a bank implies security. Okay.
Agreed.
But
I think it would be more comparable to be like Zelle or Venmo or something like that.
Yeah, the different apps on different chains.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's like you download Zelle, which is Aptos.
Yeah, and I'll be like, every time I downloaded one of those money transfer apps, I never once thought about security. I just did it.
That's
because
crazy,
I'm a
dude.
consumer, and I know how consumers think, dude. It's like, okay, I owe somebody money, and it's like, hey, here's Zelle. Oh, never heard about that in my life. Or not Zelle. Here's Venmo.
Venmo, yeah.
Never heard of that. Sure, new app. Fuck it, I'll download it.
Yeah, I had the same experience with like Cash App, dude. Somebody asked me for Cash App. I was like, what is that? But I downloaded it.
Yeah, exactly. You put your money in there, right? You gave them your credentials and shit. Like, this is how consumers behave, dude. They just do it, right? They don't think about the back end of what's enabling these services to exist in the first place. You know what I mean? So that's where I think Ethereum loses its edge, is like with the actual consumer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And things like Aptos and like, but Ethereum's, it's not, again, Ethereum does have a whole second layer that is very important.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't totally remove them from this race. It's just that second layer has a lot of UI, UX improvements to make just make it as frictionless as one of these centralized layer ones, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the centralized layer ones, they have an advantage because they can see all the problems like brought up by Ethereum and their second layer. They're like, why don't we just build all that into a single layer blockchain that eliminates the complexities of like side chains communicating to layer ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does.
I just don't know if the security offering of Ethereum is not gonna sustain itself.
Yeah. I think it does make sense to leverage Ethereum security for much more
important applications,
like critical tasks. Yeah, like again, like money movement and transferring all that stuff. Like, dude, use the most secure option to your disposal, Ethereum. That might end up being like widely understood at some point in the future. Like, everybody gets it. Yeah, Ethereum is safest, your safest bet. And so because of that, there might be like a little bit slower processes as opposed to using an unsafer, network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to hear big headlines just like you do, like people's fucking credit card identity got hacked because, they probably use lesser safe, provider.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing. And then people might wise up and be like, no, I'm not going to use this terminal for my customers because it fucked everybody. So let me move to somebody more safe. In that situation, it'll be Ethereum,
Yeah. So I guess we can see a scenario where you have games on Aptos, you have NFTs on Aptos, and we're doing our thing in Aptos. But when it's time to pay your provider, or pay your guy, or you're using the Ethereum network,
Yeah, I could see that. Sure, why not?
Yeah,
and even if Ethereum sidechain like layer 2 becomes equally as mirrored as scalably capable to these L1s, then fuck it, let's game on Polygon, let's game on Immutable, let's game
on Ethereum if they do everything right? Because why couldn't Ethereum make the same updates that Aptos built to begin with?
I don't think they have the same like architecture. Like I don't think according to Aptos, they have the ability to execute parallel.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But you know what? Why couldn't Ethereum
I don't know, dude.
change? Why couldn't they do that? I think they can do that.
They probably are planning to do such. Yeah, but it's just it's just one of those things that's going to take time. Right.
Yeah.
We saw how difficult like the merge was for
it. Took
Ethereum.
2 years of development focusing on the merge.
Yeah. And
to make that happen.
Yeah. So these are like big like feature implementations that could take many years.
But think about it. I mean, it should take a long time because they got billions of today's money to protect.
Absolutely.
Aptos doesn't have nothing.
Not yet. I mean, they got 400 million of investor money to protect.
I mean,
but that's the point. They get to build from the ground up, like many years of observing, right? Which I think is a clever strategy. But
I mean, of course, investors are going to invest in stuff because there's upside for the potential of this stuff.
Yeah.
I guess we're just debating on whether or not it makes sense that Ethereum actually ends up losing to one of these competitors. With so much traction and so much like,
do you think there's a chance like the government could just like pick like Aptos in this
and like support it and
support it and just like use this as a vehicle? Like,
here's your driver's license on chain Aptos.
Yeah, and then like therefore like I don't know, start tornado caching everything on Ethereum, sanctioning, because it's an ecosystem that has, like you're saying, no reach for the government. Like. I mean, I guess they can.
Well, there's less incentive for you and I to use Aptos, right? We want freedom. We want access.
That's
we
the
want
question,
uncensored activity.
Yeah, I feel like these chains run that risk more than Ethereum.
I agree.
It's like an undiscovered risk, just like, we didn't realize how risky like American pegged stable coins are.
Right.
I think at some point in the future, that's going to become obvious. Like the United States government's going to like show their cards,
See, that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Like,
it is a difference.
Aptos is U.S. jurisdiction obviousness.
And like potentially like set up from the ground up, like in collaboration of like, big tech and big gov.
Yeah.
So that's like something to consider like when you're a user.
Yeah. Right? Or a developer.
Yeah, absolutely. So like it's
because if you think about it, the developers who care about the ethos of crypto, they're not going to do it on Aptos.
Fuck no. Absolutely not. That's true. And that's kind of like the narrative that I'm kind of enjoying right now. It's like this it's kind of like Silicon Valley versus everyone. The world.
Yeah.
Who's going to build the better? Like,
I'm going to bet on the world, dude.
The world?
Yeah.
The world's pretty cool. It's pretty great, dude. Shit.
Yeah, this was an interesting conversation, dude. I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that. Because so the reason to talk about this is because we've been too deep in the doom and gloom narratives of like the macroeconomics. So it's like it's time to refix our attention on the space, the crypto space, and this is a good like segue to that. I think. Now we're forced to investigate a little deeper, like what else is going on in the layer 1 ecosystem. Like, what the fuck? Why is everybody spinning up their own chains? What's so unique about them?
Yeah.
Is there value? Is there not? So we gotta look into that. And of course, being that we're like in the metaverse and metaverse focus, like hopefully all these layer 1s means, at some point the metaverse right now doesn't seem like a primitive yet, like DeFi is.
Yeah.
But at some point it will, right?
Oh, it will be for sure.
Like every chain's gonna need its own metaverse economy.
Dude, I'm salivating at that situation.
Yeah,
dude.
like there's one in Polkadot, BitCountry, right? They have a metaverse there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's other. Yeah, there's like a metaverse. There's metaverses in Solana and stuff. So I mean, from our perspective, like this is how we're gonna see now like the layer on top of blockchains, now we have to create like, we have the same problems in the metaverse. Like we're just siloing the fuck out of the whole thing. We're never. It's getting more and more convoluted and like just fragmented and like ugly.
Yeah.
And like the vision of interoperability is becoming that much more cloudy as a result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like fuck,
dude. 100%.
What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do about this, dude? You know what I mean?
All right, guys. That's been the Block Runners episode about Aptos and like what is Aptos really going to take over, or is Ethereum really going to sustain?
Yeah.
And like this ecosystem of like fragmentation.
Let
us know what you think. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and at the Block Runner, at MetaZone.io, and at Roby AI. And until next time,
peace out.